Hey, it's Anjan Software. Today while working on my client project, I have noticed a typical situation. And I could describe this situation using different terms, but it could be like, let's say we have a company object, and the company object has products. And now there's a new feature coming that we want to say which products are active or which products are on sale, something like that. Nothing more than that, just the fact that they are active, let's say active. And like immediately a solution comes to your mind, right? It's, well, you just add a boolean flag to the product object and it will be called something like is active or active question mark in Ruby. That's it, right? And then when you want to retrieve, you just retrieve based on this boolean flag and everything's done. However, in object-oriented programming, some people would say that using boolean flags might be a code smell. A code smell doesn't necessarily mean it's like always bad. It's just something that maybe you want to look closer, maybe there is something better here. And boolean flag is a very like primitive approach to solving object-oriented problems. And there is another solution. But why are we coming with this boolean flag so quickly, so immediately, even after having years of experience? And why is that? In my opinion, it's partially due to the database orientation that is in our minds. So immediately we see the data tables, and also in my project, it is actually backed by a database table. So how do I make it? How do I say that product is active? Obviously, I add a new column. So it's not a field in the object this time; it's a column in the table. And I can say that it defaults to false, and we can set it to true or change it to back to false. But with objects, it's a bit different. You have actually another choice here. I don't say you always should go this way, but there's another choice, and it's very often a good choice from the object orientation point of view. And the choice is you don't only operate on the product, it's actually the company class or company object that is important, because if you want to put it differently, we want to have a way of saying that company has active products and inactive products. So if you look at this way, you actually now think in terms of collections. And it means that you can still have this company as a companies in the companies table. You can still have the products table. The product has the company ID, and now the product does have this boolean flag. You can still keep it at the database level. It's okay. But then at your implementation level, when you go with objects, you may have something like repository. You may have this place where you retrieve the company object. And by retrieving the company object, we mean that repository, if you're using the repository pattern, the implementation, how it's hidden in the database, doesn't really matter. You have this choice how you actually get it back. So in this repository object, you can have this method like load or get company, load company, let's say. And in there you go and you select this company from the database table, but then and then you also retrieve, you can join the tables with products. But then when you're building it, when you're iterating over the products, you are not just having one list of products in the company object, you are now having two different lists, active products and inactive products. So at the object level, you now have a different implementation than at the database level. And it's a much nicer implementation usually in terms of objects, because now when you want to retrieve the active objects, you simply retrieve them using company.active objects, active products, sorry. And if you want to just say that this product is no longer active, what you do is you're moving this product from the active collection to the inactive collections, for example, right? Or the other way around. And this way you have a nice object-oriented thinking. I would say this is slightly better design here. And at the database table, you still have this boolean flag. So that's one approach here. Obviously, what I'm talking here is I don't mean like when you're not using event sourcing, for example. With event sourcing, it might be slightly different or slightly easier even. But what I'm talking here is just a typical situation where when you want to retrieve an object, change the object, and then save it back to the database. So in some cases, the ORM can help you. But if you don't use ORM, but you implement it on your own, or just use something simple like active record pattern, then in the repository object, you can hide how the object is built, and you can hide how the object is saved back to the database. and then when it's saved back, you can recognize what has changed, and then you see, okay, so one product was moved from one collection to another, so it means actually at the database level I just need to turn this flag to false. So yes, it does mean slightly more code, but it might mean also that you have like a nicer situation in your code base. And I think using the collection pattern here is in my experience usually better, because otherwise you can end up using many different flags. So now you have just these active products, then you can have like on sale products, then you can have something like, I don't know, blocked products or disabled products, whatever, and suddenly you have lots of boolean flags, and that's what I see often in projects. So I believe with collections it's slightly nicer. Thanks for listening.